Hey there, want to talk about drops? I knew you did. Let's talk about drops. Let's talk about not so much how to hit drops, but let's make sure we clearly define what counts as a good drop. Because I hear lots of things out there about what counts as a good drop, and a lot of it is, well, kind of off the mark. Shall we? Okay, so lots of drops there. How do we know which ones are good? How do we know which ones aren't? Let me tell you about two theories I've heard and help debunk them a little bit. So the first one I heard about was it's all about the apex. Where the apex of the arc happens, the apex, the peak of the arc happens, that's what matters most. And the idea is that you should have the apex be on your side of the court, and that way it's descending as it crosses the net, okay? So let's test this theory out. Still testing out. This is a little bit tricky to figure out where to put you so we can see what it is that we want to see. Okay, so I'm going to focus on making sure the drop apex is on my side of the court. Okay, it was definitely on my side of the court. It was like barely before it got to the kitchen line. Here, let me go up a bit higher so you can see even more. So that was 100% descending as it crossed the net. But you don't have to know much about pickleball to realize that was not a good drop. Why? Well, because that ball bounced up so high that even though the arc is on my side of the court, the apex is on my side of the court, watch. And that ball is going to bounce up super high and they are going to attack it. So if you can have the apex be on your side of the court, but it's still a pretty crummy drop, the apex can't be the main way that we determine whether or not it's a good drop, right? Right. So what's the second theory? What's the second theory we heard? Well, the second theory I heard was that it should land in the kitchen. You should always try to play your drops so they land in the kitchen, okay? So here we go. Let's set you up here so you can see the kitchen. There it is. Okay. All right, there's the kitchen. Got it. Okay, let's check some drops. I was in the kitchen. Is that going to be in the kitchen? Yes, in the kitchen. So there you go. 3 in a row in the kitchen. But you know what? Those balls, each time they land in the kitchen, they then bounced up super high and they too are going to get slammed. So I hope I've convinced you that using where the ball lands is not a good way to measure effectiveness. And the whole idea of the apex being on your side, well, it might be true that often the apex is on your side, but that in and of itself is not a good enough definition of what counts as a good drop. So let's be more precise. All right, so here I am at the net. I am your opponent, and I'm up here along with well, now I'm in the non-volley zone, but you know what I mean. I'm up here with my partner, and we're being really scary. And what are we doing up here? Well, we're hunting for high balls, because if I can get a ball that's high, I can smack it. Hey, why don't we take a look? Okay, so I think a good way to think about playing drops is think about what your opponents want and do the opposite. So I'm up here with my partner looking for a high ball that we can smack. So what is it that you should try to give me? Well, a low ball that I can't really smack effectively. And this is the key. You're not hitting a drop to try to win the point outright. You're just trying to make it so I can't slam it. Okay, now, so here I am. If I get anything that's net high or above, you can see the net there at the bottom of your screen. If I get anything that's net high or above, you know what I'm going to do. I am going to smack it, right? Certainly something like this. And so your job is to prevent me from getting those high juicy balls. If you put me down here where I'm making contact below the top of the net, here, why don't we reverse the angle? Zoop. There. Okay, so if we're playing and I'm down here and you put me down here where I now have to hit up because your drop for whatever reason was so low and slow that it's down here and now I've got to hit up on the ball. Look, I'm not going to miss, but I'm not going to be able to hit that ball back with a lot of speed. Why? Well, because I have to hit on an upward trajectory. If I hit that ball with any speed, it goes out. So by forcing me to hit up, you're making it much more likely that I've got to hit a slow ball, one that's not going to put you in a ton of trouble. So this is what we should be thinking about when we're playing drops. Not where the ball lands or where the apex is, but what does it do to my opponent? Does it force them to hit up on the ball? If it does, you've done your job. Does it allow them to hit straight through or even down on the ball? Well, if that's the case, then you failed. So it's not really about where the ball ends up. There's lots of good drops that land outside of the kitchen. And there's lots of good drops that also get volleyed. It's not about where the ball lands, it's about what it does to your opponents. If it forces them to hit up where they can't hit that hard and still keep the ball in the court, congratulations, you've done it. But if you give them something high and juicy, regardless of where that apex was, regardless of where it landed, you're going to be in trouble.